recording has started. Good morning. My name is Chris McKinney, and I'm an Ed Specialist here at Region 1 Gear Up. I'm joining you live from Edinburgh, Texas, and I welcome Donna North, Brownsville, Weslaco so far. So if there's any other schools out there that you just signed in as a name but did not designate your campus, I'd appreciate in the chat feature to go ahead and identify yourself just so I can have good representation and we can make sure that we indicate who's joining in. We're very excited to have Miss Janine Robinson. She is the creator of Essay Hell, a wonderful and incredible website that has tons of resources to help write essays for college applications and other things. So she's going to navigate the site and take you through it. So I'm going to just turn over her at this time. Again, we're recording. We have two ways to ask and answer questions. Obviously, if you have a camera, we would love to have you enable that camera so we can see the students. There's an audio feature, obviously, that is associated with most cameras and webcams and things. And there's also the chat feature. So if you have a question and we're unable to see you visually, then please feel free to chat at any time. And we'll reserve some time at the end for question and answer. But anytime throughout, if you have a question, feel free to pose it. All right, Janine, go ahead and take it away. Thanks.
Good morning. Thanks for joining me here this morning. I am in Laguna Beach, California, and I'm going to be talking all about the dreaded college application essay. My background is I was a professional journalist. I worked for newspapers as a reporter and writer, and I then also worked as a magazine editor. In recent years, I went back and got became a English teacher for a high school English teacher. And then about 8 years ago, my own daughter was where a lot of you juniors are at. She was thinking about college, and she had gone online and saw what some of the prompts were, or those questions of, the essays that she needed to write. And she was pretty much at a loss of how to think about them and what to do. And so I helped her on it, and what I realized is that these essays are very different from a lot of the writing that she did in high school. They're very different from the sort of academic formal essays, and that it sort of takes a different approach. And so the more I worked with her, and then I started working with other students and learning a lot about these essays and just trying to find a lot of different writing techniques and ideas on how to make them engaging and effective. So then I started a blog, and it's called Essay Hell. And here, I'll show it to you here. It's a great resource. I think, can you see it there? Chris, can you see it? Let's see, share screen. Anyway, this is my blog. No, this is the boot camp. Here it is. This is my blog, Essay Hell. You can find it easily by just putting Essay Hell in your browser and searching it that way, or you can www.essayhell.com. It'll take you here. I have posts that I write periodically on different topics. Recently, I just actually wrote 2 posts about how to think about the Apply Texas prompts, which most of if you're applying to almost any university or college in Texas, there's a good chance you're going to have to answer one of these prompts. They have 3 main questions. So you can, scroll through that. You can search, how to brainstorm an essay, writing, tips. The best thing, though, is to go down on the right-hand side here, sidebar, in this index, help by topic. So you can go down here and say, I'm at the point I really need a good topic. I need a good idea to write about. And here it is, choosing a topic. You can just, all sorts of posts about that should help get you going. So if you're one of those students that really wants to learn about these essays and write a good one, this is a fabulous resource. It has, you can find the different prompts that you need to address. And then there's all sorts of narrative writing techniques as well. Because these essays, like I said, it's a different style of writing. They're more casual, more personal. And so there's all sorts of advice on my website. So I have that website, and I also, after working with students, I've written 4 writing guides as well. My main one is called Escape Essay Hell. Let's see if I can go back to the screen here. Having trouble getting back to the big screen. And I can't hear you, Chris. I think your audio is off.
If you go to the top, up where it says you're viewing Janine Robinson's screen, there's an options toolbar, and just drop down and you stop sharing.
I'm not seeing it, but
Go farther, the very top above Essay Hell.
Uh-huh.
And there should be, like mine has a green, it says you're viewing Janine Robinson's screen, and there's an options bar, toolbar right next to it. Above, can you keep going higher? I see your cursor going.
Oh, higher. All right. That's as high as I can go. But so it's still sharing the screen?
Yes, it's still sharing the Essay Hell screen.
Before, I'm not sure what why there's no option box. Maybe if I go back. Well, anyway, I can keep going here.
The other thing is, I think you can go to down the bottom where it has the Manage Participant Share Screen.
Yeah, I got it.
There
Okay,
you go.
sorry.
Awesome.
Back. So anyway, I have the blog, and I was just going to show you. I've written 4 books, writing guides.
Class.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, we have a class that's joining with a camera in Hilton's class.
Just starting. My name is Janine Robinson. Just talking about these college application essays, and just showing you all the resources that you now have at your disposal to help you figure out a strategy, come up with ideas on how to write your own. So I have this book, Escape Essay Hell. It's a step-by-step guide. And the nice thing is that this whole book is going to be available to you all on the Gear Up website. I also, from my book, I put together a step-by-step online writing course called my Essay Hell Boot Camp. And so you will have access to that as well. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how that works. Another nice thing is that you'll have access to my other book called Heavenly Essays. It's a collection of 50 sample essays. And I strongly believe that one of the best ways to learn how to write these essays is to read what other students have written. Because not only can it give you ideas for your own topics, but you can see the style that these are written in. It's narrative. You use little stories from your real life. It's more they're more casual. So let me show you the the online site. Let's see. I mean the online course. Hang on. All right, here it is. Can you see it? Called Essay Hell Boot Camp. So the idea is that you will be able to go to the Gear Up webpage get on with your password, and there should be a link to Essay Hell Boot Camp. So this is an online, a step-by-step course. It's short, that could help you brainstorm and learn writing techniques and ideas, learn how to self-edit your essays. So you have a great resource here. So I'll just show you really quickly how it's set up. You just go to the page, and then there's these tabs along the top. You start at the home page, and it kind of just gives you a general introduction. And what the course has are 10 very short videos, between 3 to 5 minutes each. So you sort of read some of the directional content, and then it prompts you through the course. Go to the introduction, read a little bit about that, and then there's a video to watch. So my main message is that if you spend some time and learn about what these college essays are all about, and get some ideas on how to come up with great topics, you're just going to be way ahead of the game. Basically, these essays are, they're called personal statements. They're supposed to be about you, and show something about you that is unique, and to these colleges. They basically are, again, they're not an academic paper. They're a personal essay. You write about yourself, you use the first person, I, we, and they're more casual in tone and style, where you write a little bit more than you talk. You don't need to try to put in the big SAT words. You're not trying to be impressive with these. Instead, you're trying to share something about yourself, what sets you apart from other students, and how you think about things, and how you feel, and what you care about, and what you value. So personal statements in general are about 500 to 600 words in length. So when you start getting your list of schools that you want to apply to, schools then require different things. Some don't require an essay. A lot of them do. And the nice thing is, it used to be when you would apply to a college, you'd have to write a separate essay for every college. But now they've consolidated that approach. And it's something you'll be hearing a lot about, called the Common Application. And all it is just a website where they've consolidated. There's several hundred colleges, so that if you're applying to those schools, you only have to write one essay. So that's nice. And it's referred to as the Common App essay. Have you written your Common App essay? It has to be about at least 250 words, no more than 650 words. And you'll go to their website, the application, the Common Application, and they have the prompts there. They have 5 prompts. And a prompt really is just a question to get you to think of an idea of what you're going to write your essay about. You don't need to answer it literally. It's just there to give you an idea so that you can write an effective essay. There's 5 Common App prompts to choose from. So that's what most students, when they talk about your Common App essay, or your college application essay, that's what they're talking about. They're called personal statements, basically because it's an essay that makes a statement about something about you, who you are, what defines you. I know, since you're from Texas, most of the universities and a lot of even some of the private colleges in Texas use another application that's tried to consolidate the process, and it's called Apply Texas. And again, you go to Apply Texas website, and you can find the prompts. They have 3 main ones, and I've actually, on my Essay Hub website, I have posts that tries to give you ideas about how to address each of those 3. Which ones you actually use depends what school you apply to. I mean, Austin, I think you do 2, and then if you want to apply, it just depends. You just have to read that. So what I'm going to be working on you with now is just how to think about writing that core essay that we would use for the Common App. You also use these type of personal state essays if you're applying for scholarships. So if you can write a compelling, a college essay, a personal statement, it could actually help you get money to pay for school, not just help you get into college, but also help you pay for it. So I'll show you really quickly a couple of the prompts, the Common App prompts. Let's see, here they are. So this is the Common App website. You'll probably become familiar with it. If you have college counselors, you'll probably can help you. If you're on your own, this is where you start. Go to the Common App, you get an account, and it walks you through the whole application. You pick which schools you want to apply to. But to write your Common App essay, here are the 5 prompts or questions. So I would start by reading them, and if one sparks an idea, great. If not, you can really almost write about anything, and then you'll find that it links up with one of these prompts. When you go to actually turn in your application, all you're going to do is turn in your essay, and then check which of these 5 prompts it links up to best. And as you'll see, they're pretty open-ended. Like number 1's a great one. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful, they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. A lot of this online course is super helpful for this prompt because it literally helps you brainstorm an idea and look for your stories, whether it's from your background or something about one of your interests, so that you can write about and share that story, just what they're asking. I also like the second prompt's a good one. The lessons we take from failure can be fundamental to later success. Recount an incident or time when you've experienced failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? Again, what my course will help you do is to think of a time that you failed at something, and then tell that as a little story, and then you go on and talk about then the steps that you took to recover from that failure, and then you go on and share what you learned about yourself and your life and the world in the process. And boom, you have an excellent essay. And there's 3 more here. Another one I think is really helpful is describe a problem you've solved or a problem you'd like to solve. And it'll probably become more clear why that one seems to prompt really excellent essays. So those are the 5 essay prompts for the Common Application. Let's see. So what I want to talk about a little bit now is why do these essays matter? I don't know, you might have heard a lot about them already or not a lot, but the bottom line is that these essays are your main chance to grab the attention of the admissions officers. You send in your application, they're going to see your grades, they're going to see your test scores, they're going to see all the activities that you've done, but there's no face on your essay. And so the idea, your goal with your essay is to give these colleges a sense of who you are as a person. The best essays are highly personal. Again, that's why you don't want to write this formal essay. Instead, you want to think of something that happened to you in your life or something personal about you that they might be surprised to learn about you or that they didn't know about you. Something that makes you stand out and also is memorable. So I'm going to show you on the course. I'll show you my course again. Here you go. So here's the back at Essay Hub Bootcamp course. You go up, you navigate it up at the top through these tabs. So I'm at the introduction part, and that's the first video. And I'm just going to play that for you. And I think it'll give you some more ideas about what your goal is when you're writing your essay. So I'm just going to play that for you now.
To write a great college application essay, you first need to understand what makes one great. Then you can dive into the process of writing your own. A great college application essay, first and foremost, needs to meet its number 1 goal, and that is to help you land in the yes pile of your target colleges and universities. Otherwise, what's the point? The people who decide whether your essay is great are the admissions officers. They're the ones who read through all the zillions applications in your essays. To understand what they want and need, it helps to put yourself in their shoes. Imagine that you have to decide who gets into your school and you have hundreds and hundreds of applications. Some of the students obviously don't have what it takes, and it's easy for them to toss those applications into the reject pile. Their grades or test scores are low, and they didn't participate in any impressive extracurricular activities, or they didn't fit for some other reason. That leaves the rest of the bunch, but those remaining students are starting to all look very similar, with top grades and stellar test scores and the same extracurriculars out the wazoo. So how are they supposed to pick who's in and who's out when everyone looks the same? Many times the college application essay is the only part of an application that helps them differentiate applicants in a positive way. Once your application clears the basic requirements for admissions, these essays are literally all they have left to go on. That is why your essay is your best and only way to literally try to put a face on your application. Try not to let that stress you out, even though it probably already has. Instead, take this knowledge and commit yourself to spending the time it takes to write a great essay. So how do you write an essay that helps you stand out from the crowd? First, remember how all these admissions officers have had to read zillions of essays and set out to find a topic that is unique and compelling. You also need to learn how to write your essay in a way that grabs their attention at the very start and keeps them wanting more. You also want to find a topic that reveals part of your personality or character and helps you come across as a student who is likable. It also helps if you can showcase how you think and your love of learning. This is called intellectual vitality, and colleges dig it. Another key feature of a great college essay is if you can find a topic that helps you show your grit. Grit is a word for raw determination, and colleges like to see this in students, since it means they not only have what it takes to get admitted, but have the grit to stick it out even when times get tough. Here's the list so far of what makes a great college application essay. Yep, it's a long one. These features are a lot to pack into one essay that only has about 500 to 650 words. So now that you know what you need to do, how exactly do you do it? The good news is that it's not that hard. The trick is to write what's called a narrative style essay. This just means that your essay uses a storytelling style and some creative writing techniques. These are also known as slice of life essays, since they take one piece of your life and spin that into an engaging and memorable essay, which has everything you want it to do as a personal statement for your college application. Of course, read the prompt that you need to answer for your college application essay. Most of them are asking in one way or the other for a personal statement essay, which is what this course will teach you to write. Whether you use one of the 5 prompts from the Common Application or a prompt for a large state university or one for a transfer or scholarship essay, the writing formula outlined in this course will help you write a personal statement that will work perfectly. Sometimes you might need to tweak your essay to line up with the exact prompt, but usually it will work with all prompts asking for an essay that reveals something central about what makes you you. There are no rules for how you work this course or move through it. Some of you might want to zip through all the short presentations and then go back and start working on your rough drafts. Or you can work on writing your drafts as you go along. The course, however, is actually set to literally walk you step by step through the process of crafting one personal statement. I would advise you to stick to that path and take time to read the handouts and do the exercises with each section as you go along for the best and quickest results. It's your call. Before you jump in, I strongly encourage you to take a few minutes before launching into the first step and read the sample essays in handout 1. There are only 6 of them and they are short, and I bet you even find them really good reads. These are written by real students and you can see what schools they ended up at. More importantly, you can quickly get an idea of the type of slice of life essay that you will soon be writing yourself. Notice the more casual style and how they all use little stories from real life to start their essays. Also, pay attention to the types of topics they used. If you want to be more organized while you take this course, I would suggest that you download all 12 handouts to one file on your computer before you start, or even better, print them all out and put them in one folder. That will make it easy to refer back to them as you go through the presentations. Also, make sure you have somewhere to take notes, either on paper or computer file. A lot of this process is brainstorming, and capturing their thoughts and ideas is important. Let me give you one more word of advice before you get started. I've worked with literally hundreds of students on their essays. Many of them told me at the start that they were certain there was nothing interesting about them, or that they knew they had nothing to write about that would help them stand out or make an impression on their dream schools. But after taking them through this step-by-step approach, I can tell you every single one of them wrote a great essay. And I'm confident you will too. You might still be feeling pretty stressed and doubtful, but do yourself a favor. Try to keep your thinking open and give yourself some credit. You are unique and you are interesting, and before you know it, you will discover your own story and quickly draft a killer college application essay. Trust me on this. Good luck.
Okay. So that's that's the first of 10 videos. What happens next is you go up here to section 1 and you go to step 1, and again there's another video that you can watch that will start you with this whole brainstorming process. What step 1 does is it starts by helping you define what's called one of your defining qualities or characteristics, and the reason that you start there is that it helps you give a natural focus to your essay. So one of the things you don't want to do in these essays is try to cram everything about yourself in one essay. There's a lot of pressure to do that because you want the school to know why you're so interesting and all the great things that you've done and how you think. But what happens if you try to do that or sort of list your accomplishments or put too much in the essay, one essay about yourself, it gets general and broad and it's just not interesting to read. The main thing you want is an essay that's interesting to read because these admissions officers, you just don't have their attention for very long, and you just have a little bit of time to kind of grab their interest. So that's one of the main things, is to have a nice focus for your essay. And a good way to do that is to start by finding one of your defining qualities. And I went through that in the previous workshop, but I think, so what I'd like you to do, let's see. But first I actually want to show you a couple things on this course here. Remember I showed you how I've written these 4 books and that you will have access to those. My step-by-step guide, Escape Essay Hell, which is the exact formula or approach that this online course takes you through, but it's a book. So if you're somebody that likes to read, you can just go here and you'll have access to the whole digital version of that book. So it's just taking a minute to come up. So also some other resources where there's some more sample essays and another video I have about actually how to answering prompt 4 of the Common Application. But what I would advise you to do is start at the beginning of this course and go through the brainstorming process so that you understand what makes a good topic and how to find your own topic. So the idea is that you start by finding a personal quality, and I'll have you listen to that video. What you can do is, if you have a piece of paper and pencil, if you think of some of your personal qualities, write them down so that you have those notes to refer to. There's also a handout here that it helps you collect your ideas. You want to find this quality, examples of qualities would be, you're creative, you're a leader, you're a problem solver, you're, let's see, maybe you're innovative or you're imaginative. So if you could come up with a couple of descriptors about yourself, that's going to give your essay a great focus, because the next step it takes you through is you pick one of your defining qualities. Say it's you're a really creative person, and you're going to then try to brainstorm times or real life moments when you demonstrated that quality of being creative. You're going to start looking for those real life moments or incidents or experience that you can share in your essay that will show the reader how you're creative, why you're creative. So this will make more sense as you spend a little time with these videos and go through it as a step-by-step process, because not only does it help you get this focus by picking one of these qualities, but it also helps you brainstorm that time or that little moment that you can share. And it also then walks you into other steps so that you can bring depth to your essay and show why that quality, say, of creativity is important, why it matters, not just to you, but the world too. And then there's also a sample outline that you'll get to when you're ready to start writing, that will help you map out your essay. Even though these are a more casual style narrative, it's not like you write one story from start to beginning. You just start your essay with a little mini story that sort of shows how you're creative, say, if that's your quality. But then you go on to give the background of what led up to that moment. And then you go into how you dealt with things involving your creativity, and then what you learned in the process. So if you're somebody that likes to have a little structure for your essay, this sample outline will help you do that. Once you get your ideas, it will show you how to sort of plug in chunks of information that will all line up, and you'll end up with a rough draft that will be really helpful. Let's see. So anytime when you're on the course and you've gone to a handout or you've gone into one of the books and you want to go back, just go back to the home page, or go to one of these tabs up here. So what I want you to do now is to have your piece of paper, and you can watch this video about finding your defining qualities or characteristics. And that's a big step. Once you get a few of those, you really will be well on your way. So let's watch this short video and see if you can collect a couple descriptors about yourself.
Earlier, in the introductory presentation, I told you all the things that make an essay effective and meaningful. Now I'm going to walk you through the process of writing your own, starting with identifying your defining or core qualities. If you start the process of writing your narrative essay by finding a short list of your core or defining qualities, you will naturally bring a focus and meaning to your essay. You might wonder, why should I pick just one defining quality to write about myself when I have many good ones? By sticking to just one, your essay will naturally have a sharp focus. This is important if you want your essay to stand out and be memorable. The worst essays are usually the ones that are too general and broad. At the end of this presentation, print out Handout 2, the Story Finder worksheet, and jot down 3 to 5 or more of your qualities and characteristics. Don't overthink it. This is mainly an exercise for your own use as you brainstorm essay topics. There's a long list of descriptors in the handout that will help you find those that you can choose from. Of course, feel free to use any others that you think of. You don't even need to stick with a single word. Short phrases work too. In fact, a phrase is one way to further focus the description of your core quality or characteristic. The more specific, the better. Remember, you're trying to capture yourself as accurately as possible. What's a defining quality anyway? One way to find yours is to think of how your parents or a friend might describe you to someone who doesn't know you. For example, someone might ask your mom or dad, "Hey, I haven't seen John in years. How is he doing? What's he like?" And they might answer, "John, why, he's a really determined guy who has a lot of focus and self-discipline. Sometimes he can be a bit stubborn." There you go. Determined, focused, self-discipline, and stubborn. 4 defining qualities. Keep an eye out for defining qualities that would make you effective in your future schooling plans. It's not necessary, however, if you don't know yet. For example, if you know you want to be a doctor and are starting as a biology major, it wouldn't hurt to look for qualities you think would make you an effective doctor, such as empathy, precision, ambition, drive. If you think you want to go into engineering, look for qualities that could help you in your future career, such as being a problem solver, a logical thinker, curious. Or maybe you see a future in the arts. Are you creative, expressive, visionary, passionate, disciplined? Even qualities or characteristics that aren't considered positive can work as well, as long as they have an upside. For example, even if you are stubborn, it could come in handy if it means you stick to a goal. Why are these so important? If your story springs from one of your defining qualities, it automatically reveals a large part of what makes you unique and will set you apart from the pack. Now that you've narrowed your list of qualities and characteristics, it's time to brainstorm times from your past that illustrate them. This is the fun part. Good luck.
Okay. So let's say you have a couple qualities, then you move on to the next step is where you're going to brainstorm something from your past, a real life moment, something that happened, and it doesn't have to be some huge event. A lot of times it's just some little interaction or some moment. It's best to sort of stick to your high school years when you're looking for these real life moments or times to share in your essay. What you want to do is once you find a time, then you're going to use that to start your essay. And these little times are so interesting. They work as natural grabbers. I'm sure you've heard in good writing, a lot of times the goal is to hook your writer, grab them at the beginning. So instead of having to come up with some sort of cutesy first line that can sometimes come across as gimmicky. It's better to just take a paragraph and share something that happened. And if you can think of something that happened or a moment that also illustrates this one of your core qualities, then you are going to have a nice essay that goes on to reveal what makes you you, you know. So after you find your defining qualities, you're going to start brainstorming those real life moments. What I want to do is share with you a couple of sample essays so you see how this works. It's hard just to hear about this in an abstract way. On this course site, you have, I think these are 6 sample essays from the book that you can just go to. Here's one about a kid that wrote about just a simple time or moment when he got stuck up in a tree. He threw his climbing rope up there, hoisted himself up, tied some fancy knot, and then got stuck and couldn't get down. And what his whole essay was about, really his defining quality that he picked to write about, he wanted to be an engineer, and his quality was being a problem solver. So he had his quality, so we brainstormed. You're a problem solver. Okay, can you think of a time that you had to solve a problem? So this is what he came up with, this time that he threw a rope up there, tied a knot, and got stuck. So he starts by not, his whole essay is not saying, notice he doesn't start, I'm the kind of guy who likes to solve problems. Instead, he pulls that little moment and he starts right in the middle of that little moment and describes it and puts you right in that moment. Dangling about 30 feet from above ground, I looked down on the entire neighborhood park with its rolling hills, vibrant green grass, and multiple tall eucalyptus trees. Buckled tightly in my brand new Diamond Mountain climbing harness, I admired my handiwork. My old blue and black braided climbing rope thrown over a branch held me aloft, while a slip knot I tied while hoisting myself up prevented my descent. After a few minutes, I decided to return to the ground, but realized my knot grew too tight for me to untie. I was stuck. So that's the little moment. That's all it is. It's not some impressive, big, huge thing that happened. He just found one little moment, something that happened to him that is an example of that quality that he wants to showcase about himself in his essay. He's showcasing how he is a problem solver, and he picked that one little time. And then he goes back in time and kind of gives you the backstory about his interests in tying knots, how he learned knots, and what he finally goes into is how really knots and knot tying are really problem solving. And he goes into then how he got out of that situation, kind of what he learned about himself. He says, in so many other parts of my life, I've experienced this similar relationship, that the more I try, the more useful and permanent the reward. He was talking about some of these knots that he had learned to tie. I expect that my knot tying adventures and the related lessons, even the most embarrassing ones, will help me through any future hang-ups I encounter from here on out. So his whole essay took that simple little moment. He shared it at the beginning, which is a little story and is interesting. And then he talked about how he dealt with that, and then reflected and developed his essay about what he thought about things and what he learned. And so he's revealing what he values and what he cares about and how he thinks. And all that is great stuff to have in your essays. There's another one. Basically, these essays fall into 2 camps when you're thinking of ideas for your personal statement. There are some students that have had pretty intense things happen to them in their lives. And I actually strongly encourage you, if that is you, to consider writing about it, even though it's very personal. There are students who have faced the loss of a parent, or have had some financial situation, or maybe you have had some disorder or illness that you personally have had to deal with. Those situations cannot help but define who you are. And they also, if you share a little piece of that experience, I'm confident that it will also reveal something about yourself that's positive, that helped you deal with it. And the more personal the essay, usually the more memorable and impactful it will be. So don't think that you have to impress the readers with these essays and come up with something, some amazing accomplishment that you had. Actually, the most effective essays are those that show some kind of problem or challenge that you had to deal with. Remember, I talked about showing grit, your raw determination. One of the biggest tricks, and I go more into that in this course if you go through it, is this idea that when you're looking for those little mini stories, if you can find a time when you face some kind of problem, it will be naturally a compelling story, and set you up to write a great essay. So with the kid that wrote about the knot tying and wanting to show how he's a problem solver, he noticed that little story, when he got stuck in that tree, involved a problem. He was stuck. So problems come in all different shapes and forms. Problems, they can be catastrophes. It could be the time a boulder fell on your car, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be a problem that you have too many freckles. It could be a problem that you're scared of riding elevators. It can be a challenge. Maybe you had some goal and there was some obstacle got in the way. That's a problem. And so a lot of the best essays are ones that are not only highly personal, but also have some kind of problem that you dealt with. And they don't always have to be huge. They can be every day. One student wrote about how he didn't have a car to get to his job, so he learned how to ride the public bus system. And he shared in his essay all the interesting people he met on the bus, and he wrote about how he came to actually really love riding the public buses. And so he was able to show what he learned about it, how he thought about it, and what was the problem in that essay. He didn't have a car to get to work. So if you're trying to brainstorm a great idea for your essay, think of a time when you had any kind of problem, big or small, and see what quality you use to deal with that. And there you'll find your quality, and you'll have a little story, and you'll be on the path to writing a good essay. I want to share another essay with you. This guy was huge. I worked with him. He's 6'7", 300 pounds. So yeah, he thought, well, maybe a defining characteristic is just I'm such a giant guy. But he didn't just write his essay about I'm a really big guy, I bump my head going under doors. He took it a step further, and but he did start with this idea that he was looking for a problem. And so let me just read this one to you. And notice again, he takes one little moment or incident to start his essay, and that is an example of his problem. So it says, while grabbing lunch between games at a water polo tournament, I noticed one of my new teammates rarely looked me in the eye. Instead of taking the empty seat next to me, he opted to sit across the table. Even when I tried to start a conversation with him, he only looked down and mumbled, "Oh, hey," and walked away. This type of cold shoulder treatment wasn't new to me. I'm a big guy. In bare feet, I'm about 6 feet, 7 inches tall, and pushing 300 pounds. Yes, it can be a pain. I bump my head going through doorways. I don't fit in most mid-sized cars, and I can barely squeeze into most classroom desks. But I understand that the world is made for average-sized people, and I like to think I'm above average. One thing, however, is hard for me to take. People who don't know me assume I'm mean. So instead of his essay being all just about how he's big is the problem, he gave it even sharper focus and shared a problem within that. And that problem is people take one look at him and think he's a mean guy. So see how that has a problem in it? Then he goes on and gives some background about what that's like for him. And then he goes into how he dealt with that problem. And then he talks about later what he learned by dealing with that problem, what he learned about himself. Listen what he says. In general, I ignore what people say to me or think about me when it comes to my size. Instead of reacting, I usually just give them a smile. On many levels, there are advantages to towering over most of the world. I always get the front seat since I don't fit in the back. No one ever dares call shotgun. I usually have the best seat in the house, whether it's a rock concert or a ball game, no matter where I sit. And if people are getting rowdy and making friends uncomfortable, all I need to do is step in the middle and simply ask, "What's going on?" And they disperse. Even the people who are intimidated at first by me eventually come around once they get to know me. Like the water polo player at the restaurant. Within about 2 weeks, we finally had a conversation, ended up finding we had a lot in common. In fact, he ended up as my best friend. For me, it's a small world after all, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So that's an example of a personal statement that uses a narrative style. If you see how the writing is more casual, he says, he uses a little bit of dialogue in it. He says things like, I'm a big guy. I'm pushing 300 pounds. This is how people talk. And that's the type of writing that you want. When you're writing your essay, if you start using words or language that you wouldn't use when you're talking to your friends, don't use it. You do not need to try to be impressive in these essays. What you want is to just share something about yourself, something that happened, and then you kick it around and talk about what you thought about it, what you learned in the process, and you'll have a great essay. The trick is to trust your real life stories. And again, in the brainstorming process, I think it's great to go back, find a quality, think of some moment that sort of illustrates that quality, and then you're off and running. Here's another student. He wrote about how he just loved other people's trash. He loved going to garage sales. He liked going up in his grandmother's attic. It's not a big, wow, impressive topic, but it made an excellent essay. He got into an amazing school. And his essay, the trick to it was talking about this passion that he has and giving us an example of a real life moment or time. So he wrote, she talked about the time that he found this free trampoline and forced his friends to help him drag it home. And then he goes into how he's always been interested in other people's trash. And then what the essay expands into, though, is really, it shows what he values. So it's not just about that he likes trash. He takes it into, then he talks about why does he like trash and why does that matter? So he says, sometimes I surprise myself by how far I will go to hunt down a good deal. To me, however, the deal is just the beginning. I love creating useful things out of other people's junk. Just last week, I built a shelving system out of some scrap wood and mini fans for my friend that was moving to college. Last winter, I made a makeshift bobsled out of 2 old snowboards and a shopping cart wheels. I've learned that things don't lose their value after a few years of wear and tear. My neighbor's trash literally is my treasure. So it's again, when you're trying to brainstorm, a lot of students will think, oh gosh, I have to have some amazing thing happen to me to have a good essay, or it has to be really impressive. As you can see, you too have little things that have happened that you can spin into great essays. Let's see. So let's go back up. So there's, in that Heavenly Essays, there's 50 more sample essays. And I just think they're a great way to read them. You can go, oh, I didn't know I could write about my obsession with karaoke as an essay topic, or I didn't know that I could write about, that I worked at Dairy Queen, that simple things like that make the best topics. So one thing I'll just was telling you about, one of the tricks to finding a great story is that to look for problems. So I'm going to skip the topic one and share that with you and see if that's another way to help you find a topic. So let's listen to this video about problems. Actually, I say to students, this is one time in your life where having a problem is a good thing. So let's see if this makes sense.
If you've landed on a time from your past that illustrates one of your defining qualities or characteristics, good for you. Or you may still be searching for a good one. No worries. Either way, this next presentation will help you continue forward on your search for a killer topic. Say you've thought of a couple moments or experiences from your recent past. Now let's make sure they are as interesting as you think. To make sure that they will make a compelling mini story or anecdote to use in your essay, check to see if it involves a problem. Problems come in all shapes and sizes. They can be a challenge or an obstacle, like something got in the way of something you wanted or a goal. They can be an accident or something you tried and failed at. They can be a life change, such as a move to another part of the country. They can even be a personal hang-up or flaw. Why are problems good? Well, if your story involves a problem, it's guaranteed to be interesting. Things are simply more compelling when they go a little sideways. When everything is sailing along smoothly, it's just not that interesting, especially to read about. Once you find a problem that relates to one of your defining qualities or characteristics, you will also reveal a relevant, compelling story to tell, and voila, you have a hot topic. The problems you write about can be big, such as an intense experience, a crisis, a tragedy, or costly failure, or they can be minor, such as a personal hang-up or a simple mistake or misstep, or a fear or phobia, or even an obsession. Here's some other problems that students have spun into excellent essays. If you didn't have success finding a mini story or time from your past, try thinking about a time you just faced a problem, and that can be your mini story. Here's some more examples of problems that students spun into excellent essays. The girl who got separated from her family by visiting Tokyo, the boy who loved technology so much he always waited for the latest gadget and always had old ones, the boy who got stuck in a tree because of his own nodding obsession. And a few more. The girl who had a lifelong obsession with the color yellow, the boy who mixed up someone's food order while waiting tables, the girl who caddied golf and was never invited to lunch with other male caddies, the boy who had to leave home because of his father's violent drinking habit. I hope you're starting to get the idea here. Notice they all involve some type of problem. If you're going to write an essay for the Common App, you will notice that several of the prompts actually ask for problems. Prompt number 4 literally asks you to write about a problem. Prompt number 2 asks you to write about a time you failed at something, and a failure is a kind of problem. If your essay prompts don't ask directly for a problem, look for one anyway, and you will make the topic interesting. For example, prompt 1 of the Common App asks to write about 4 things: your background, identity, interest, or talent. If you write about a talent, it can be challenging to write about it without sounding boastful or dull. But if you find a problem related to that talent, you inject interest and drama into your essay. Same goes with writing about your background, identity, or an interest. Next, you will learn how to craft and retell the moment you experienced a problem in the form of an anecdote. Read handout 4 to see a list of other sample topic ideas. If you make the reader see your problem, they will feel your pain and care about you and what you have to say. That is why you use these anecdotes in the introduction of a narrative essay in order to engage your reader at the start. And this is exactly what you want in your essay.
All right, so I hope that just gives you an idea of how you can use these resources, this wonderful resource on your Gear Up website, to get going, to get an idea, to understand what the prompts are, to get an idea of whether you want to start with a personal quality or start brainstorming little incidents or moments from your past. And then it goes on and tells you specifically how to craft that little moment, how to structure it, how to add depth, how to include the lesson that you learned, and then also how to edit your own essay once you write out the rough draft. So I don't know if we have do we have much more time here? If anybody has any questions at this point, maybe you're thinking of a topic and you're like, I don't know, would that make a good topic? There's no dumb questions. And like I said, I'll just go through again really quickly. If you get these ideas, you will be way ahead of the game on this whole essay process. 1, note when you write your essay, don't cram in too much. Don't list your accomplishments. Don't try to impress. There's some red flag topics that if you just stay away from these, you'll be doing yourself a big favor. The reason is there are certain topics that so many kids have written about that they're overdone and cliche, and that college admissions officers just sort of aren't that interested. One are like mission trips, like volunteer experiences, travel, Sports is a big red flag. Those writing about the time that you caught the winning pass for the football team, they've just read those too many times, and they don't seem to show enough about you. You can write about, say, a mission trip, but if you do write about the time that you went somewhere with your church, maybe to help teach kids, just don't write about the whole trip. Write about something specific that happened while you were there working with those kids. And again, remember, think of a little problem. Think of some little thing that went wrong, and then you can have a fresh way to write about that experience. Again, the reason you look for those little problems is, one, they're interesting, but also that you can quickly go into how it made you feel, and then the steps you took to deal with it, and then what you learned in the process. So it's not like you're writing all about your problems. It's just that when you share something that happened that's problematic, you're then poised to go in and show what you have that you use to deal with it. And then we get a sense of who you are. You start to stand out. We get a picture of your personality, and that's what college is really like. Another thing I want to mention too is that if you happen to be the first person in your family to be going to college, that's something, if you can possibly weave that in to mention in these essays, I think it's just such an amazing thing, and that colleges are looking for you. They want students that will be the first to go to college. Another tip, that idea, don't try to impress. Trust your little stories. Sometimes it's the littlest story. Sometimes it's the thing you thought you would never write about in your college essay. I found a lot of times there are actually certain things that kids are almost a little embarrassed about, but those make great essays. And the reason, because we all have those things. We all have those little things we're embarrassed. We've all had problems. And so when you share yours and are open about it, we connect with you. And that's what good writing is. We connect. And that idea of showing grit is huge. If you have a problem and you can say, how you dealt with it, that shows your grit, says you have what it takes. So I don't know. All I can say is that you're very fortunate that you've got this great resource. You're way ahead of most students. I can't tell you how many kids still write these stiff, boring academic essays. They use that 5-paragraph formula. The colleges, they don't like it. It's not effective. So spend some time to find a little story. And I would also highly recommend that you get going now on these essays. Start brainstorming, collect your ideas. And because summer's going to be here, if you're applying what's called early decision to schools, those deadlines can be as early as August. And if you wait till your senior year starts, you're going to be shocked how busy you are your senior year. So if you can start getting your ideas together, do a little bit of writing. I'm sure you've heard this, that writing is a process. You're not just going to sit down and write out your perfect essay in one sitting. The idea is that you get your idea, you write it out the best you can. It's bad, it's sloppy, that's fine. It's called a rough draft. Then you get away from it, you come back, you read it, and you're like, that's sort of confusing, and you fix it. Or, I already said that, take that out, or, this is more interesting, maybe I should move it higher. Or maybe this isn't flowing well. So this online course also has a video on how to edit your own work. But give yourself time. And if what works for me is to give myself little deadlines. Okay, this Sunday I'm going to have a little free time in the morning. I'm going to spend an hour. I'm going to go home, get on that course, watch a couple of the videos, and at your own pace, work through it. The nice thing, you want these things off your back. You just don't want that looming over you. And all I can say is they don't have to take that long. Once you get a good topic, some little story about yourself, it's actually kind of fun to write. It's a different style of writing. And I know you all have interesting stories. I know that you've gone through things, that things have happened to you, and you have to trust. Those are interesting. That you need to trust that things that happen to you, people want to know. It's interesting to read about. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, I think we're probably going to wrap up.
Thank you, Janine. You're exactly right. We have, a chance for one question. Anybody has a burning question they'd like to ask before we sign off for this session? Again, you can chat it, or you can, in the case of Mr. Hilton, Miss Hilton's class, they can unmute their mic. I see a gentleman in a maroon shirt and a girl just turned in a white shirt looking at us.
Did I mention my website? I hope I pointed
I know
that out.
Angela put it out there in the chat.
Okay, good.
SNL.com. Okay.
Okay. So good luck to everybody, and don't get freaked out by this whole college process. Really, it's just taking one step at a time, asking questions. You are going to land in some great schools and write some great essays. And I would love to see them. If you ever want to send them my way, I'd love to see what you've written. So
excellent. Well, thank you again to everybody, especially you, Janine. I really appreciate your time. And this wraps up our 2 morning sessions. We're going to take a break for about an hour and a half. We'll be back at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time.
All right.
That's, I guess, 11 a.m. for you. It's still early over there. Huh?
It's 9:30 here, but I'll see you in a little bit.
9:30. Okay, that's true. Okay, sounds great. Signing out.
Thanks.
Y'all have a great rest of your morning. Hope to see you back at 1 or 2:30. Bye-bye.